Well, it's Christmas time, and I wanted to take this opportunity to wish you a very Merry Christmas. I know that is becoming problematic to say in some places, but I think it's important to uphold the traditions of wishing people a Merry Christmas and not just saying Happy Holidays. I also want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit around the urgency that is being developed. Because while everybody is having a very, very Merry Christmas, I want to ask the question of whether it should be a very Merry Christmas or not. A lot of people feel extremely accomplished. A lot of people feel like they've done a lot of things. But let's look at the state of the world for this year and think about exactly where we've come to and where we are at right now in the world. This year, we've seen inflation that has been marked as a win moment because inflation is coming down. What they don't tell you is that inflation coming down does not mean prices are coming down. In order for prices to come down, you would have to have deflation, and that they can't have deflation in an inflationary system. So therefore, what they say to you is, hey, inflation is coming down, but what that really means is that prices are rising slowly. So you're getting screwed, but feeling good about it. Perfect, right? We keep the peasants exactly where we need to keep the peasants. They feel good about the fact that their government and people in power are doing the right thing by keeping inflation down. And it is a complete and utter lie around the progress that you are making in your life, because if inflation has come down from 6% to 3%, what's happened to your wages? Have your wages kept up with even that 3%? What about that period of time when that inflation was high? Has that been made up for with your wages and with your returns? No, it has not. So you have that. Secondly, we had I'm going to go all over the place here. I'm going to give you a summary of all of the things that are happening in the world right now. We're going to question whether this should be a very, very Merry Christmas or not. Because I see a lot of people getting extremely distracted by the very little sense of happiness that is being offered and given to you. And it's very, very important to highlight exactly what is happening in the world versus the feel-good factor of what you are being told. So secondly, we've got the idea, of course, we in the United States, the inflation has come down, which basically means that prices are only going up at a slower rate. And in the other part of the world, we had a lot of Bitcoiner happiness around Milei getting elected for Argentina, right? And of course, I wasn't enthusiastic about this because I'm not enthusiastic anymore about any politician. If you think any politician that is in power anywhere in the world is going to have any impact for the positivity driving, the positive driving future of this world without having their financial system come under heel, you are completely mistaken. Javier Milei had this, all the Bitcoiners are celebrating Javier, oh yeah, Milei this, Milei that. Same thing in the US with obviously Vivek and RFK and all this other stuff. And I've been, if you followed me on Twitter, I've said this early on. I don't think Vivek's going to get the nomination. I don't think RFK is going to get the nomination. This is when everyone was on the bandwagon. And obviously now the poll numbers are falling apart. And of course, they're not going to get the nomination on either side to run. There might be vices, but they're not going to get the nomination to run. And if they did get the nomination, they're not going to win. But going over to Argentina, what do we have? We have Javier Milei, who was talking about, screw the banks, I'm going to de-dollarize this, that, and the other. One, now no longer de-dollarizing, right? He is now, the first thing he did was fly over to the United States to sit down with Bill Clinton and the chaps that run in that circle. So again, is there, and he of course is part of the WEF as well. So okay, cool, little bit of happiness, but what's actually happening, right? That's what I want to focus on. We have the first war that we walked into the year with is now coming to an end because the fruit has been squeezed as hard as it can for the juice in the fruit. And of course, I'm talking about the Russia-Ukraine situation, innocent people dead. By the way, any controversial topic that I mention, if we ever have a debate about it, I can debate on both sides of the debate. I can tell you the whys and the againsts for both sides of the debate, because a mentor of mine told me if you can't debate both sides of the debate, then you don't deserve to have the opinion that you have. You have to be able to see things from both sides of the conversation, which is what I've trained myself to do. So despite that, what I can completely agree with is that I don't think innocent people should be blown to pieces for the benefit of extending the amount of money that we can print and the systems that are currently in place to help the amount of money that we can print. I don't think that should happen. That's my personal opinion. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with how easily the population can be wound up on one side to the other. I don't think enough people in the world have the ability to see both sides of a debate, because I think emotions can be taken and manipulated very, very easily in the world that we live in. Because now, of course, you have social media where you can create an echo chamber and be told exactly what you need to be told. And if you get sucked into that, which is easy to do, you can be driven in the direction that you want to be driven in. Now that we've finished killing enough, civilians that are Russian and Ukrainian, not even civilians, right? I feel sorry for the military too. That was a speaking, because the military personnel as well, right? They're pawns in this situation on both sides, right? Absolutely awful. But now we've squeezed the juice out of that one, and we're going into the next cycle for the election in the U.S. Now, of course, we've got to blow up some different people on both sides of the debate, right? Now we've got Israel and Hamas situation. I won't talk about anything to do with why the fact that the best intelligence services in the entire world, monitoring the most guarded country in the entire world, managed to miss a bunch of guys flying in on buggies in order to go in and flatten a place that's, you can argue again on both sides of it, but go and flatten a place full of that is densely populated by civilians. Right? And again, on both sides, I can argue both sides of the debate, right? And of course, there's that emotional reaction, but you have to be able to have the ability to see both sides of the debate on what's going on here, right? But again, I like to see this more from the idea of what is the actual objective that is being served here. And of course, the Israel war is much more politically advantageous and usable for an American election cycle than the Ukraine-Russia war. So therefore we have that. What have we gained from the Russia-Ukraine situation? We've destabilized gas and relations inside of Europe, right? And so a lot of demand has moved for those natural resources back to the U.S., right? We've now gone and destabilized pretty much the Middle East again and tried to stop the peace treaties that were moving forward and the relationships that were being built. I'm sure there's strategic reasons for that. So now that we've done all of this, this has been 2023. In the same time, you got Javier Milei getting elected in Argentina. Everyone's celebrating. You get that glimpse of celebration, and of course he comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, I don't know about dollarizing the economy." You got bankers protesting on the street, which is quite funny, to be honest. But you got bankers protesting on the street. What do you think's going to happen after this, right? The people he put in charge. Go look at the history of the people that he's put in charge of the country. You got affiliations to the biggest banking cartels and organizations in the world. And again, just another politician. I'm not surprised, but a lot of people who are jumping up and down for Javier Milei are surprised. When he won, the tweet that I put out was, "Congratulations, now do what's right." And of course, didn't expect him to actually do what's right, but that's what's happening. The money has to be fixed first. And I don't care what anyone says. The money is not fixed until you come off of the money that is the virus. You can basically reduce the pile of shit down to the best looking turd, which would be the United States dollar based on the fiat rankings. But that's still not fixing the problem. Fixing the problem is coming off that and moving to a Bitcoin backed currency, or just Bitcoin. Now that we are very, very far away from that, right? So we've had all kinds of situations all over the world. Control has continued to grow. We have seen people, basically be terrified in every 3 or 4 months, every 6 months. There's something new coming along, and of course, control continues to deepen. And you're sitting there going, hey, I'm having a Merry Christmas, without realizing that control continues to deepen, and your opportunity to secure the freedom that you should have, that you rightly should have, but you have to earn because of the financial subjugation of 230 years that we've all lived under, requires you to earn it, requires you to actually grasp it, because even though it is your God-given right based on the labor that you've put out, you have to actually earn it because of the system that we live in. You have to actually take it, and most people are not taking it. They're out in the streets thinking about all kinds of stupid shit, whatever's in the media, and focusing on all the BS going on in the world and having their glimpses of celebration here and there. Can you imagine what a state of a world that we're in right now when it comes to humanity? When people find peace and happiness in one side of a debate, one side of a war, managing to break through and murder 1,000 people, not realizing, or maybe even accepting, that for the next 6 months their own people are going to be laid out and murdered. Can you imagine what state of humanity we're at? What lack of control, what lack of autonomy, what lack of self-direction that we have come to, where this is something to be celebrated. This is, we are not living in times that are positive here. Yes, there's a lot of positivity in the world right now. There is a lot of, the poverty rates continue to drop. The fact that we've got, the people dying from diseases going down, people dying from other people killing them going down. All of these things are getting better. But we are coming to a head when it comes to the mental state of humanity. And that is terrible. But it is a reminder that more work has to be done. And one of the ways that you can do that work is to secure your own financial future and secure your own independence from the system, from the ability to be controlled. Whether you love him, hate him, I don't give a shit. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate's mother just had a heart attack. And they requested, because they're currently going through Romanian criminal proceedings, they requested a visit to the United Kingdom. Not talking about, a random country that just has crazy control, no controls, and is the Wild West where you can actually escape. They requested a visit to their mother in the United Kingdom after she had a heart attack, and they were denied. Bear in mind, they're not guilty, right? Because they haven't been proven guilty at this point in the stage of the case. I'm not saying that they're not guilty. I don't know. But they have not been proven guilty. They are basically in a waiting stage. They were picked up, put in jail, because that's the rules of Romania. You can be put in jail for a certain period of time while the case is built. They've come out. They've been held in the country. Their mother has a heart attack, and they are told, no, you cannot go to London, to the United Kingdom, which has an affiliated relationship with Romania and could easily track, two of the most well-known guys on earth. And that is because there is a criminal proceeding going on, right? Imagine what will happen when they don't need criminal proceedings. Imagine what will happen when they can just turn off your money. Imagine how much control is coming because of CBDCs, because of all of these things. Imagine when they go, oh, we turned off your money. Oh, can I get it turned on? Yeah, we need to go through a review process. It's going to take 2 weeks. Imagine when they can just freeze your life for 2 weeks. Imagine how much behavioral economics is going to start coming into this world where I don't need criminal proceeding. I just made a mistake. Yeah, it's going to take 2 weeks to turn it back on. But you made a mistake. You can turn it back on now. Yeah, I know, but there's bureaucracy. By the way, you signed the terms of this when you created your CBDC account. It's going to take 2 weeks. So, but I need to make this move right now. I'm really sorry. It's going to take 2 weeks. The amount of behavioral economics that is coming down the pipeline because of CBDCs is terrifying. And you're out here celebrating a merry, 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 merry Christmas. We don't live in a time period right now where if you have not gotten to 1 Bitcoin, that you should be out here spending money on alcohol, spending money on this, spending money on that. And of course, we've had, more and more of this movement to legalize marijuana. How is it that you can legalize marijuana or move towards legalizing marijuana, but you cannot move towards legalizing psilocybin mushrooms? You can just decriminalize them. Right? Doesn't make sense to me. Once you read the studies, none of it makes any sense. The world is more chaotic now than ever. The world is more distracting now than ever because the way to control you is just to entertain you. Right? We live in a very, very precarious and interesting time. This is not a fight for physical power, because what they've realized is that if I can just control your mind, and I can control your desires, and I can control your intentions, and I can control the thing that you focus on, the one gift that God gave everyone that nobody uses, which is focus. If I can control your focus, and I can control your desires, and I can control your intentions, I can control you as a human being. I don't need to physically control you, right? I don't need to physically control you. I can control your thinking, and therefore I can control your spirit. And that's what's going on right now. And during this whole time period, we are now less than 20 days from when an ETF is going to be approved, to the probability of 90% plus. And this ETF is a marking point, is a turning point in the adoption of Bitcoin. And why am I saying this? Because you're so focused on what's going on in Argentina, in Ukraine, in Russia, in Israel, in Palestine, in all of these places. What's going on with Vivek? Oh, Vivek told somebody to get fucked. Oh, Elon Musk told Bob Iger to get fucked. Oh, what? All of this shit. And we have moved towards human trials to put chips in people's brains. We have elected politicians that told you exactly what they were going to do and then reneged as soon as they got in. Right in front of your faces. You got Bitcoiners celebrating this shit. Not just normal people that don't understand that the system is screwed. You got Bitcoiners celebrating this shit. Because you know what it is? Human beings haven't felt. We've had such a period of time. I had this debate with a friend of mine about, Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, because obviously I smoke Cuban cigars. And he said, yeah, but this guy's a hero because of the intentions that he came into it with. And I asked him, I said, it's very, very important to decide, how do you want to judge a man? Do you judge a man based on his intentions, or do you judge a man based on his results? That's a very, very important question to ask, and I want to ask you this question because I don't care if you intend to get to 1 Bitcoin. I don't care whether you wish to get to 1 Bitcoin. The fact that we live in Bitcoin is a monetary network. It means that you must own one Bitcoin, not just intend to. Because the intentions that you have about owning one Bitcoin are going to be completely irrelevant to your progeny in 50 years' time when they cannot get their hands on it, because it is a finite resource. Your intention will be irrelevant. Your ownership will be the only thing that matters. This is extremely important to realize in a world where distraction is everywhere. And it's so easy to distract people. You have to start owning assets. And that's the one focus that you want, because the ETF is coming, and the one thing that everyone's excited about is going to be the one thing that they use to control everyone again, and that's price. Because of the scarcity of the asset, I'm going to use price to control the peasants. Because if I don't raise the price, the peasants will be able to get some of it. And we can't have that. Because if the peasants get enough of it, then they can start making decisions in the future that are uncontrollable, and that cannot happen. There is only 21 million Bitcoin that can be parted into 100 million parts each. And we need to raise the price per Bitcoin so that the peasants cannot get enough in order to start making decisions. So the one thing that everyone is celebrating is the thing that is going to be used to control, which is going to be price. Price is going to be the thing that is used through Bitcoin to keep you and everyone else you know poor, unless you have enough. And time is running out. Time is running out. If you are not getting to one Bitcoin, you are not focused on getting to one Bitcoin, you are not thinking about how and actively acquiring Bitcoin every single day to get to one Bitcoin, you are going to fuck yourself. Because as soon as this ETF is launched, there's going to be a time period, as my friend Eric said on our interview, there is going to be a pre-Bitcoin ETF world and a post-Bitcoin ETF world. The time is running out. You are celebrating a Merry Christmas, and of course, I grew up in the United Kingdom. We celebrate Christmas, and I wanted to wish you a very Merry Christmas. It is Christmas time. It's the time to give. So I want to urge you to give to yourself. I want to urge you to understand that the world is full of distractions. I want you to understand that while you are celebrating right now, more control than ever has been taken. And unless you have enough of the scarcest asset on earth, unless you get rich, unless you maintain being rich, because that's the name of the game. I don't care whether you were rich once. Again, what is it? Is it the intention or is it the results? Right? And 95% of the audience of my YouTube channel is men. And I want to reiterate, men are judged purely on results. I don't care what your intention is. Right? I love it when, I love it when a woman has beautiful intentions. I can support that. But us men are judged strictly on your results, strictly on how well you can protect, strictly on how well you can provide. That's it. We are judged on results. I don't give a shit what your intention is if you want to get to acquiring one Bitcoin. I don't care whether you are 25 watching this. I don't care whether you are 65 watching this. If you're a man, you understand it is about the result. It is not about the intention. Now, the point that is extremely important here is to realize that time is running out. Time is running out because this ETF is coming. This is the most, controversial or widespread video talking about all these different points, and I've given you a glimpse as to, hopefully if you're smart enough to read between the lines, I've given you a glimpse as to my opinion on a lot of different topics here. I don't normally do that because I like staying focused, but it is Christmas. And I wanted to give you a rundown on what's happened this year, and I wanted to give you a rundown on exactly where I think the world is going. The world is going towards more control, and the only way... See, me and the happy hippies, we're not that far apart. We're not that far apart. My strategy just works, right? The happy hippies want to high five you, tell you you're taking part, and you should be happy with everything that's going on in the world. But we're really not that far apart. My solution is just different. My solution is you get enough money to be able to say fuck you to the people that you want to say fuck you to. And Bitcoin is the first time where you can actually say fuck you and mean it. Because if you've got real estate and you say fuck you, I can do enough to bring you to heel. Whereas with Bitcoin, even if I shoot you in the head, that Bitcoin goes with you. There's nothing else to do. It's the first and only asset that cannot be taken from you unless you are willing to actually hand it over. So again, me and the happy hippies are not that far away. We agree that the world needs a technology and a solution in order to fix what's going on. But I'm also the realist, right? My strategy actually works because I'm just real with it to the point of you need to get rich in order to do this, right? The happy hippies want to sit around going, if there's enough of us, then the world will change. I don't believe that. I don't believe that because I've seen too many protests in my life. I've seen too many echo chambers in my life. I've seen too many times that the world is removed from one direction to the other with a little bit of marketing. With a little bit of marketing. I don't believe any of that shit. What I believe in is accumulating resources, getting those resources, then aligning myself with other people who have those resources in order to influence the world in the direction that I want to see it influenced in. And if you don't have enough of the hardest, most scarcest asset humanity has ever created, at some point you will be subject to someone else who does. And you owe it to your progeny, you owe it to your lineage, you owe it to who you are as a person to acquire the hardest, most scarcest asset humanity has ever created and stop getting distracted by this world that we live in. But ultimately, despite all of this, I want you to have a Merry Christmas, but I want you to remember the ETF is coming, time is running out, and the one mechanism of control that they're going to have for the peasants is going to be price. And remember, there's always, even if it's Christmas, there's always 3 rules to Bitcoin. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.